93 CF Moreno Valley.
Welcome to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Make sure you catch us every week on KCAA Radio, serving Inland Empire and most of the metropolitan LA area on 1050 AM, 106.5 FM. If you miss the live broadcast, you can always catch us on streaming. We're on the free Building Solid Foundations channel that's available on Roku, Amazon Fire, and the Android app coming soon to Apple as well. Also, we are on about 15 podcast platforms and expanding that all the time. So we're probably on your favorite platform. And we are also archived on the kcaaradio.com website if you miss anything. Today in the studio, I have another special guest, someone I've worked with as a cohort for several years now, works with me at New School of Architecture and Design. Dr. Robbie Sadawi has practiced architecture and AEC consulting, which is architecture, engineering, and construction consulting in Berkeley, Los Angeles, Honolulu, and Atlanta since 1988. So over 3 decades of experience in the business. He is a senior AEC solutions consultant, specializes in AEC project mentoring and consulting, serves owners, architects, engineers, and construction managers. As you know, listeners, if you've tuned in, you know that's very much a part of my background, working in development and construction management. Robbie utilizes the best-in-class BIM software, that's building information modeling software, including Revit, Navisworks, Manage, BIM 360, Dynamo, Generative Design, InfraWorks, Autodesk. And if you're in the business, you'll recognize those. If you're not, it's just a lot of things you've never heard of before, but we're going to get into what all that is. Robbie is a specialist in what's known as VDC, which is virtual design and construction. This is designing and building everything in a virtual environment before we get into the field, so that we kind of know what to expect once we get out in the field. And if you make all your mistakes on the computer, it's a lot cheaper to fix them than if you make those mistakes in the field. Robbie, welcome to Building Solid Foundations. It's great to have you.
Thank you. Thank you, Steve.
So we got into a little bit of what BIM and VDC and those are terms used in the industry. So for those out there that aren't in the industry or fairly, new to this, kind of explain what BIM is, what VDC is, and what the difference is.
Yeah, so BIM is building information modeling, and it's concerned obviously with building modeling, but then they put that information in the middle, which kind of alludes to the fact that it's not just about the geometry of the building model, but also about the information. So there's a lot of data that's associated with the building model that we care about, such as, for the architect or interior designer, there will be the materials, the lighting, the finishes, the size of the room, length, width, and height. All these things would matter for the architect. For the structural engineer, it would be the material properties of the steel or the concrete, make sure that it's stiff enough to hold the building up. For the mechanical engineer, it would be, HVAC, ventilation, air conditioning, heating loads and cooling loads. So all this information has to be packed into this building information model or accessed through an external database. And that would kind of characterize all these disciplines. And lends itself more to the design side of the business. Now, VDC, which is virtual design construction, is more on the construction side, construction management. And so typically, when the construction team receives the virtual building model from the design team, it's usually something that they have to not just look at and visualize, but also tap into this information-rich model or models and get information out so they can use in construction management and means and methods of construction. So that's the main difference between the two.
Yeah, and so for the people out there kind of understand the basics of how architecture engineering works, you might be familiar with the old school analog drawings where you draw on paper with triangles and T-squares and pencil lines. And those are line drawings that were used, and then they would build a physical model using some, wood and plastic and paper or whatever they used to build these physical models of a three-dimensional building or create a rendering, a artist's conception of what this is. The difference is that when you have the building information modeling, it's not just lines. the lines actually are stacked with information. When you click on it, it tells you the material, it tells you property, it tells you there's cost information in there. So it's not just lines. So as you adjust them, it actually informs other project documents. And that's using the technology to make the job easier for the designers, the owners, the construction managers, the contractors, the suppliers, everybody involved in the project. And so that's what Robbie's specialty is. And I didn't mention this in the intro, but Robbie actually is recognized as receiving the highest ratings from students at school for teaching this, but also he's received the North American Award for Distinguished Performance in Revit Architecture. And that's saying something. That tells you he knows what he's doing on this stuff. Now, for me, I've worked with BIM and worked with VDC for several decades. I'm not an expert in it. That's why people like Dr. Robbie teach this for me. I would not be comfortable teaching this to students. I'm not that adept at it. I'm more of an end user on it. So your educational background, how did you choose this as a specialty? Why did you decide to go to this highly technical side of the built environment industry?
Oh, that's an old story. It started back in the 80s when I was doing my undergraduate degree in architecture, and I saw AutoCAD for the first time. And AutoCAD probably is well known to a lot of people out there, but I wanted to be involved in the computer-aided design business, and I pursued my graduate studies at UCLA later on, and used this technology to design buildings. And fast forward. For the past 18 years, I've been involved in with my previous employer to provide consulting work and teaching, as well as what I do at the New School of Architecture is teach undergraduate and graduate students how to utilize building information modeling and virtual design construction in the business. So with this experience of teaching literally thousands of architects, engineers, and students of architecture and students of construction management, how to utilize the software, I kind of become specialized in it.
Okay, and now you teach both undergrad and graduate students. Is that the same thing, but the graduate students just have a higher level of rigor, or is there a difference in how that's approached?
It's actually quite different because for the undergraduate students, we have to hold their hands and kind of walk them through the steps, how to get from A to B. While in the graduate student level, we give them a lot of room to do their online research. And there is an open forum at the New School of Architecture MCM program where they do some discussions and they have assignments. So it's more of a dialogue and research than it is step-by-step instruction.
Okay, and so at New School, because that's where I'm familiar with your work. Obviously, we work together there. What's your primary area of emphasis for the students? What's the objective? Yeah,
so this brings down the topic of what is really the nuts and bolts of virtual design construction. It boils down to these subtopics of coordination and collaboration between different team members, and then understanding the virtual design model and making sure it's buildable. So the feasibility study for that building design is fairly important. So my students at the New School of Architecture use the virtual design models to create site logistics plans, for example, to make sure that before we go out to the job site and spend all this money, open the floodgates, and then spend the money, we want to make sure it's buildable, and then they want to make sure also that each discipline, whether it's mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural, architectural, each one of those disciplines, they place elements in the model, such as ductwork and pipework and structural beams and columns, So it's like a forest of stuff that can interfere with each other. So we teach our students to run a clash detection that will uh, detect those interferences and isolate them and take action on how to resolve them before we actually order the steel and have to send it back to the factory because it doesn't fit. And then it costs a lot of money and it causes a lot of change orders and headaches to the construction manager.
Right. And so for the listeners that, may not be too familiar with how this process works, when you have an architect design a building, yes, they design the building envelope, they design what the interiors are, how the whole thing's going to work, but they have a team, just like a contractor has a lot of trade contractors. An architect has a team of consultants that work with them, and there's a structural engineer, an electrical engineer, a mechanical engineer, there's landscape architects, there's all these different people that work with them. And they are each designing their portion of that building. The electrical engineer is doing everything electrical, low voltage and regular voltage. The mechanical person is designing all the mechanical systems for the building, but they're not at the same place working together. They're working in different offices, probably for different companies. And so the coordination, they all want to use the same space to run their pipes, ducts, wires, whatever they're running. And sometimes that doesn't all fit. And so that's what the clash detection is, figuring out how come everybody tried to fit all this stuff in one space and something's got to give. And so now we've got to go back and work with the architect and figure out how are we going to make all this work, and did we forget anything? We're going to have to take a short break. When we come back, we're going to pick up our discussion with Dr. Rabi Sadawi about using building information modeling and VDC virtual design and construction to inform and assist, basically as a tool to help support those working in both the design and the construction of projects. This is Building Solid Foundations. We'll be right back after this.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 95137855316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we are with Robbie Sadawi. He is an expert in building information modeling and virtual design and construction. He's also a cohort with me at New School of Architecture and Design. He teaches in the master's degree program. And we were talking before the break about what is BIM, what is VDC, and what's its purpose, and kind of the difference between undergraduate and graduate level. Now, I know that not only is there a difference between how you teach BIM and VDC to undergrads and graduates, but there are other disciplines that you teach to. So you get students that are architect, they are designer, interior architect students, they are structural engineers. How does that differ in how you approach the teaching of BIM to those disciplines?
Yeah, that's true, Steve. So I do teach building information modeling to interior designers and architects and structural engineers, and each discipline have its own flavor. It's like all ice cream, but we have chocolate, strawberry, and vanilla. So for interior designers, their interest is not so much with the heavy stuff, but the delicate stuff of design, which is the materials and finishes and the lighting and the furniture and casework, and it's a very touchy feely kind of thing.
It's all the stuff that we see, hear, and feel when we come into a building.
Yeah, it's like all the beautiful stuff that you touch and feel, and you pay a lot of money for because it looks great. Or the backsplash and above your cabinets, the flooring and the lighting and all that stuff. And for the architects, you want to make sure the building actually works. If the rooms end up being too small, you can fit a bed in there. That's a problem, right? So architects are pretty much jack of all trades, and they know a little bit about everything, just enough to be dangerous. So I'm one of those. So so we know about every single discipline. We make sure that all disciplines are working together in a harmonious way, and nobody's breaking the rules. Structural engineers are probably have the most liability in all of my students, where if the building falls down, they get sued. They can
actually go to prison.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's a public life safety issue. There's no joke. Okay, so they have to design the building not only to meet the code requirements, but sometimes exceeding the code requirements. So when you teach structural engineers, it's like by the book, and they deal with basically three materials, steel, concrete, and wood, and those are the materials that makes the bones, if you will, of the building, that makes it stand up. And but it's very interesting that there's so much in common. You can say a structural engineer is a special case architect. An interior designer is also a special case architect because they are specialized in what they do, but if you combine them all together, you get the entire architectural field, which encompasses everything you want to know about the building, make sure everything is put together in a harmonious way. So these are some of the differences between these disciplines.
Right, and then you get into the engineers, which their job is to make the building functional and comfortable for human habitation, right?
The mechanical,
yeah,
electrical engineers. Also, I don't teach that discipline. That's not my discipline, but
right.
we do touch on it a little bit because it has to do with lighting. Usually architects and interior designers are responsible to place the lighting in strategic locations to make sure we have enough lighting and it's spread all over, and it's aesthetically beautiful and pleasing to the user, to the end user, while the engineers are responsible to make sure they have the proper power requirements for the lighting, and the proper make sure that it meets building code, because you can't just put any lighting. If you put incandescent lighting in the building, then the building's going to burn down because it's going to consume too much energy, and it's going to burn the electric panel. So this is why the whole industry is moving towards LED lighting these days, because it has a low consumption of power. those type of things. So the ventilation is very important. You don't want to be opening the window every morning, so you want to run the AC and the ventilation now and then, the fan, in order to reduce the power consumption and become more sustainable.
Right. And I find the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers end up both driving and being heavily driven by the interior architects and designers, because that's, every fixture they've come up with, every light fixture, every plumbing fixture, how they want the lights to look, where they want registers and where they don't want registers, if they want to hide those things. The interior portion of that ties heavily to the stuff you don't see behind the walls. Everything that's in the building that has a functional purpose has something behind the wall you don't see that's feeding it. And that's it all ties together. And yet they all work in different offices for different companies and sometimes in different locations while they're designing a building. And so that's where what you do, which is the putting it together in digital files that are shared between the disciplines, and they can look and understand what each person's doing, helps to coordinate all that. And I'm old enough to remember the days we used to do constructability reviews by going through a set of drawn plans and reading them ourselves and comparing them to spec books and trying to figure out where the conflicts and where the issues were. And it was very, very time consuming and a lot of brain damage, honestly. It's a lot of stuff you got to go through. Really, you have to have really good attention to detail and picture things in your head. And the digital version of that, using BIM to do that, just made life so much better, and you catch so much more of the errors. And one of the biggest issues in construction when you're designing and building buildings, we used to have a joke that on the first day of the project, everybody's best friends, and on the last day, we're all suing each other. And that's a horrible, thing to think about, but that's kind of the way it was for a lot. And the BIM and the VDC prevents a lot of that, mitigates so much of that, because we find the mistakes in a computer before we find the mistakes in the field. And mistakes in the field cost a lot of money. And when something costs money, there's going to be a lot of fighting over who's got to pay for it. So
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's when everybody gets their attorneys involved and their insurance companies, and it's a big mess. So that's I've seen a big difference in just the attitudes and the demeanor of construction sites because of the advent of both BIM and VDC, and the move towards design build. Honestly, the design build delivery system, which this is a big part of. So beyond the people designing and building the building, there are the people that use the building, the people that move in and they have to function in it. Those are the owners and the facility managers. So do we still use BIM and VDC when we get to that point, or is that something that happened before the facility manager ever got involved?
That's a great question, Steve. So at the end of construction phase, usually there is a phase called the handover before the facility management, operations, and maintenance. So the handover is essentially, in commercial buildings, that is the phase where the construction managers, together with the designers, deliver the key, if you will, to the building, and making sure that all the systems actually work. So they fire up the HVAC system, the plumbing, the electrical, making sure that you don't have something that is causing short circuits in the building, making sure that everything is functional. They test the temperature inside and out at the mechanical registers in the ceiling, floors, making sure everything is okay before they hand over the building. Once they hand over the building, then the facility manager owns it, obviously, and then they have to deal with it. So there's actually more money being spent on operation and maintenance than on the actual design. Design is just a little tiny fraction of the entire cost of the building life cycle. And of course, construction is a pretty substantial, but let's say an average commercial building lasts somewhere between 50 to 100 years. That's a long time, and you're going to be spending a lot of money on the utilities and maintaining the building. So some of the things that can be maintained in the building would be something they're changing the roofing system, changing having to maintain the elevator equipment, and changing light bulbs every few years. So yes, back to your question, virtual design and construction. These virtual models, digital models, are turned over also to the facility manager, which they can use as well for operations and maintenance. So they can keep track of how many light bulbs they have in the building, how many floors, what kind of carpet they have in each room, each floor. So in case they need to replace the flooring. So it's a great tool to track facility maintenance.
Right, and of course, the old days we used to have hand marked up as-built is what we used to call them, right? There was what was designed and what actually went into the ground, and you marked it all up, and then you send it back to the architect, and they'd update everything, and here's what's actually you have. And the owners would have these rolls of plans somewhere in a closet, and nobody ever really, where do you find them? But having it digitally, it's so much more accessible, where it actually doesn't just have drawing; it has, exactly what's there. You know to order a particular color paint by the number from the manufacturer, and you're going to get exactly that comes in, so you can repair, add, change anything you want. We're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're gonna dig in a little deeper into the instructional side of this. This is Building Solid Foundations. We're talking to Robbie Sadawi today about building information modeling and virtual design and construction and its uses. And we'll be right back after this short break.
FireUp Connect is the most innovative business networking group, supporting and collaborating with a dozen of small businesses that are interested in building and establishing strong business connections, hosting educational live seminars while carrying out business and community-driven projects, as well as marketing programs as a part of its membership program. FireUp Connect also offers virtual assistance with a wide range of services including inbound customer support, chat support, appointment setting and email management, graphic designing, video editing, web design and development, social media marketing, e-commerce solution, content writing and much more. For more information, head on over to www.fireupconnect.com. FireUp Connect, helping success stories unfold every day.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station, KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
This is Steve Matley. Join me every Thursday at 3 p.m. right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations radio talk show. I spent decades as a professional construction manager, business owner, real estate developer, and a college educator, and I enjoy learning new things from other people. We talk a lot about real estate, business, and finance, but we cover a diverse range of other topics as well. Some of the topics we've discussed in the past few months include real estate investing, leadership, higher education, ADUs, marketing using technology, multifamily rental properties, business strategy, entrepreneurship. You never know who may show up or what they may talk about, so join us right here on KCAA for Building Solid Foundations Radio. Hi, this is Steve Matley. As a construction professional, I know the importance of selecting the right contractor for the job. Power Solar employs only professional installers. Power Solar will provide a knowledgeable consultant to help analyze your current electric bill, identify site placement, and correct solar technology for your home. Contact KCAA Producer at gmail.com for a free financial savings proposal with no obligation, or call 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Again, that's KCAA Producer at gmail.com or 951-551-1350 and ask for Ken. Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we're talking to Robbie Sadawi. He is an expert in virtual design and construction and building information modeling, and we're talking about what that is and how it's applied and what its benefits are. Before the break, we were talking about the value to not just the people designing and building the building, but also the facility managers, those in charge of operating, maintaining, and repairing the building throughout its life. And there's some aspects of this. It's because Robbie and I both know each other from the educational side of this, and we're talking about applications here, but when we're teaching to students, what's your approach to teaching something so highly technical? This is all computer stuff, really, and you're actually teaching in your graduate program asynchronously online. How do you connect something that's so computer and digital to students? How do you make that human connection in instructing them?
Yes, it is the class I'm teaching at New School of Architecture is asynchronous, which means that at the graduate level, students will be able to do their own online research and their discussions, but their assignments are pretty much focused on an application. So they spend the entire week, Monday through Friday, learning about this topic and discussing amongst themselves with a little help of the instructor. But then towards the end of the week, they have to actually to produce something. So as I mentioned before, this could be regarding a clash detection between different disciplines, structural columns and beams versus mechanical ductwork or pipe work. It could be something like taking the project schedule, broken down different tasks, and associating that with the building model. So that's an interesting way to talk about VDC and BIM, where you have the project is being built through phases. So they can create a simulation on the computer that will simulate that. Now, a lot of this stuff, don't let this scare you. If you are a student and you want to learn about this, and you want to join this program, it's actually pretty exciting because a lot of the stuff is done by the software. It's automatic. So you can take your project schedule, which could be in Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Project or Primavera, and associate that with the building model and say, okay, this goes here, this goes here, and then the model goes, okay, I got it. I can do that for you. Or you can just press the easy button and says auto relate them together, and it will generate that animation for you. So a lot of the stuff is automated. We are using intelligent software that uses one database for all of these aspects. So this is not in the 1970s or 80s, where back when I was in undergraduate school, where we were dealing with just paper drawings, and we got one paper over there, one paper over there. There's no relationship between them. No, this is not it. This is one database. Everything is together, and the software is fairly intelligent to coordinate stuff and give you the information you need to make the proper decision.
Right, and I think it's interesting that the approach is that there's a lot of discussion between students. There's, as you said, research, review, discussion before they actually start producing product, and I think there's a tendency in our day and age to want to assume that these highly intelligent applications can just do everything for us, but we have to have something to feed into it. My dad worked in the computer field. He was in aerospace, and he worked in education as well, in what they called it data processing back then. Now it's called IT, computers. And he always had a sign in his office that said, "You've got to be smarter than the machine." And so that's where the discussion, the collaboration, the understanding the theories, understanding what you're doing, how things work, before you start putting everything into the computer will give you almost magical results if it's been fed the right information. And there's a lot that goes into that is very much old school: talk, discuss, learn, share ideas, and very, very human before we get to where the machine picks it up and then can extrapolate that information and turn it into what we need to work with. So, I wanted to kind of emphasize that point. This isn't just sit in a dark corner in a cube somewhere on a computer and never be isolated, just because you're working with the computer side of the design and construction world on this. So let's talk a little bit more about the BIM and VDC business intelligence and data extraction. What exactly does that mean?
Yes, this actually reminds me of one of my YouTube videos that I did recently in the past few months, where I talk about the importance of data extraction. So it's not enough that you have the information in the virtual model, but you want a tool that will extract that information out of the model and make it useful for different end users. So whether you are a design business owner, whether you are a construction manager, whether you are a facility manager, or some other discipline, vendor, each of those disciplines have a business interest in this information, and it's not the same across the board. So that's what's great about this smart software that we are using. It will allow the end user to tap into this information-rich data and get it out of the model to other software that will feed into either the construction management software or the facility management software. So we teach, for example, at the School of Architecture, we teach certain aspects of Revit and Navisworks Manage. So Navisworks Manage takes the data out of Revit and creates a simulation out of it. So very useful information. Also take the geometry out of Revit and creates a clash detection. So each of those software has a specialized task to do. And without that shared information, it's not possible to do this. So business owners are especially interested in that kind of stuff because you are managing large amount of data that in a very smart way that you can generate different charts, different graphs, and look at the trends. So for example, those who are working in construction management project over the cloud platform, they can look at not only at their own project but also at multiple projects across the entire company and kind of see the trends, the curve on what is going on, how many RFIs have been generated, how many change orders have been generated. So there's certain business aspect of this virtual design construction that is not related to design or construction, but related to business, and that's what this is about.
Right, and ultimately, most projects come down to a business enterprise. That's why we do them. There's a reason that they're done. If they're corporate, it's because there's a business that needs facilities. We need to design them, we need to build them, and then run them. And there's a business reason for that. If they are speculative, that means there's a business model for someone that's got an investment project of building something and then renting it or selling it, whatever they're going to do with it to make money. And all that does come down to business decisions and being able to get the necessary information to make decisions. It's a lot of decision support, really, what it is. It helps the owners manage, make decisions, and track their resources. I want to get into a little bit about where the future is going in BIM and VDC, and two different sides of that. One is the future of education for it, and then maybe we take a break and we come back from that. We'll talk about the future of it application-wise for facilities and those things. So let's talk first on the education. Where do you see the future of education for BIM and VDC?
Yeah, so software is getting smarter and smarter as we speak, and it's just the curve is just so steep right now, and I can barely keep up with the advancement of the software myself. If you blink, you miss it. This is just incredible. So from an educational standpoint, I think the best way to describe this is that if you look at how, for example, the CEO of Facebook, had kind of moved the emphasis from a social media platform to this new company called Meta. So Meta is essentially virtual, or you see people with goggles and you're looking at virtual worlds. So we're definitely going in that direction where design professionals and construction professionals will be using more of the virtual world and being able to communicate with the building elements as well as amongst each other in the virtual world. And that's something that I can see being added to the education of BIM and VDC in the future.
Okay. And you know, as you said, it's moving so fast. What I'm hoping is that somebody will develop AI that will learn that for me, and then I don't have to worry about it, right? So that it'll learn what AI is doing for me and inform me. So it is a fast moving target. And again, I've been around long enough as you have to remember back when computers were this odd thing. We weren't sure how it was ever going to be really applied to construction and design and those things. Because I remember back in the day, people saying, "Well, computers will never replace actual architectural drawings. It just won't, because that'll Well, obviously that's not true." And we weren't sure how computers would ever be on the site because the site is so labor intensive and hands on. And yet we see it all the time. We're seeing augmented reality being used for layout in the field by even the people on the site, the superintending. We're going to have to take another short break. When we come back, I want to talk about the future of BIM as it relates to facility management and how buildings actually work. This is Building Solid Foundations. We'll be right back after this short break with Robbie Sadawi. Don't go
anywhere. Choose power today and help us create a cleaner planet. Over the past years, utility prices have rapidly increased. Power provides home energy solutions that would save money. Power is the world's first virtual solar company that aims to adopt sustainable energy worldwide. Our company delivers low-cost, clean, and reliable energy solutions. The solar investment allows you to become eligible for an income tax credit. The solar investment is a great way to provide long-term value. Power is the first solar company that reduces carbon footprint for a cleaner environment. Power is experienced and one of the fastest growing solar companies in the United States, which provide the best solutions according to your needs. Call today for your free solar consultation. Join us as one of our ambassadors and earn $1,000. Earn $1,000 when the installation is completed. Free sign up at www.power.com/marie.waite/ambassador. Feel good about what powers your life. Marie Waite, your solar consultant. 95137853316. Enjoy your life with solar.com.
Real Men of Real Estate.
Men of Real Estate radio show here on KCAA.
Boats, mortgages can be purchased.
All of us want to live in thriving communities.
Basically, go to the radio station KCAA radio.com.
You can find us on your dial at 102.3 FM, 1050 AM, as well as 106.5 FM.
Are you a real estate investor looking for a new opportunity in one of the top tourist destinations in the world? Look no further. Welcome to Punta Cana. Perla Bahia is a private resort-style community in Punta Cana that consists of modern condos, custom villas, and various commercial amenities. So if you're interested in learning more or joining us on one of our monthly investment tours, don't hesitate to contact me today at 909-494-2280.
Welcome back to Building Solid Foundations. I'm your host, Steve Matley. Today we're talking to Robbie Sadawi. He is an expert in building information modeling and virtual design and construction. And we've walked through a lot of what BIM is and what VDC is, what is, how it works, what the benefits are. And we talked a little bit about the future of education for it. And now I want to get into the future for actually using it to operate, maintain buildings, how buildings work. There's a lot of we're familiar with smart home type stuff, those to some degree, but this takes that to a whole different level. So where's the future of VDC when it comes to actually operating, maintaining facilities and buildings?
Yeah, so I'd like actually to touch on the three aspects of it, which is during the design phase, the construction phase, and the facility management phase. Let's start with the design phase because this is actually comes first. So in the design phase, like you said earlier, AI or artificial intelligence is going to be basically ubiquitous. Permeates all the design aspects of this, and I remember walking on the Georgia Tech campus a long time ago with the Professor Chuck Eastman, and he looked at me and said, "Why do we need construction documents?" And I was like, "What is this guy talking about?" I was like, I wasn't really understand quite what he's talking about, but he said, "I predict within 50 years there will be no more construction documents." And essentially, the way we do business as designers is going to change, because if the designers are building this virtual model, all they have to do is give the model to the construction management people and say,
That's right.
"Here, take it. Good luck with it." Okay, basically,
Yes.
and everything you need is in that model. Why do I need me to cut a section or an elevation or a plan? It's already in there. So all you have to do is just use the software to slice and dice the model any way you want.
So that
So
will be the construction documents. It'll be a digital.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So from a design standpoint, there's a notion called standard of care. So standard of care is a legal term that says if you are not a designer with minimum standard of care, then you can be sued in the court of law because you don't have this technology. So that's one thing that's very important to understand as a designer. As a construction manager, of course, we all know the use of drones just took off like fireworks. It's unbelievable how many people are using drones these days and AI to automate construction processes. So they have like cameras on the job sites, and you have drones flying all over the place, and kind of surveying what is the deliveries and the staging of materials and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways you can automate and facilitate the construction process by using technology. Of course, using this is kind of old news, but they're using a lot of tablets and stuff like that. So in the facility management, I want to touch on that before the time runs out. It is going to be a common thing, especially in commercial buildings, where the end user will have an input in whether or not the actual system is working. So let's say I have a business. I'm on the 23rd floor of a building, and like I'll go into the conference room, and it's too hot in the conference room, or it's too cold. So what do? I pull up my mobile phone, and I pull up that app for the facility manager, and I basically create report a problem, and that will generate a facility management maintenance ticket, so the maintenance person can come in and fix the problem. So technology is converging and making it easy for the end user to be talking to the facility manager through these mobile apps. And then the other part of this is sensors. Sensors is going to become a big deal. We all know that there's sensors in your car. It will detect whether you have Wi-Fi in your car or not. That's the same concept. So everything is talking to everything. I remember one day I was watching my TV, and something popped up on the screen. It said your washer is done. It's like, how did the TV know that my washer is done? It's like, I do not relate the fact that they are talking to each other, but apparently they are both the same brand name, and they have a common AI between them. So this is the same stuff that we're talking about, but applied to buildings.
So if you buy a Samsung or an LG dishwasher and a
Absolutely.
refrigerator and the television, and all those things will talk to each other.
And will tell you how many minutes you have left to the washer, and all that stuff. So technology and AI is being built in by those manufacturers into these different things. So it's probably a good idea to have the same brand name throughout all your appliances, so they can talk to each other.
Well, I'm sure that's the marketing thing is, buy our brand and make that uniform throughout the house so they all talk to each other. So you don't buy the off brand of something else because it's a couple $100 cheaper. Yeah. I think that's probably a good marketing strategy right there is what that is. And especially if you tie it all in. Yeah, I find it absolutely fascinating and frightening all at the same time.
It is. It's kind of scary for those of us who are like myself. I'm kind of a hybrid person. I took my license exam as an architect using pencil and paper.
That's right.
But then here I am. I'm like a high-tech kind of guy. So yeah, for those of us who are a little bit hybrid, it may sound a little bit scary, but for like people like my children, they grew up with computers. They don't even know anything before computers and before
That's right.
internet. So for them, it's a little bit less scary than for us.
Right. Yeah. Now, Robbie, you mentioned a YouTube video. Where would our listeners find that if they were interested in getting information on the data extraction and the business intelligence? Is that on a channel under your name?
Yeah, absolutely. You just go to YouTube and then type in my name, Rabi Sidawi, and then
Okay, Rabi
Sidawi, yes.
Okay,
and then they'll
search
be
that on
able
YouTube.
to watch that video regarding the data extraction and business intelligence.
Fantastic. All right, Robbie, I want to thank you for being on the show. I think it's been a fascinating discussion. I think a lot of people don't really know that this aspect of the built environment exists. And I know it exists and I'm familiar with it, but I don't know that much about it technically. So I always find it fascinating too. Now, I appreciate your time and your insights you shared with us. This is Building Solid Foundations. Again, catch us every Thursday and Sunday on KCAA. If you miss us live, check us out on kcaa.com in the archives, or better yet, you can actually see the broadcast because we do videotape this. You can go to Roku, Amazon Fire, or Android app, the Building Solid Foundations channel. It's a free download. Check it there. We'll also have segments up on YouTube, and we will be on the Apple app probably within the next 2 to 3 months. That's being developed right now for us. This is Building Solid Foundations. We'll tune in every week. Always have fascinating guests to share information you probably never heard of before, like Rabi Sidawi today. And until next week, go do something different this week.
KCAA is your CNBC news affiliate. We're the state